The Disappearance of Tara Calico. The ride that never ended. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because tonight's story isn't just a disappearance. It's a warning that the road you take might already be watching you. It was September 20th, 1988. The morning sun spilled over the desert plains of Belen, New Mexico, painting the horizon gold and red. The air was dry, the streets were quiet, and the only sound was the faint hum of bicycle tires rolling over cracked asphalt. Tara Calico pedaled down Highway 47, a route she knew by heart. It was her daily ride, a 34-mile loop she'd taken dozens of times before. Pink Walkman clipped to her shorts, her headphones filled with her favorite songs. She told her mother she'd be back by noon, but by noon the road was empty. Her mother stood by the window, staring down the driveway, waiting. Tara never came home. When her mother drove the route hours later, she found something chilling, small fragments of a cassette tape and a piece of Tara's Walkman lying by the roadside, as if dropped mid-motion. Tire tracks cut into the dirt beside them, heavy, deep, and wrong. The police were called, but they treated it like a runaway case at first. After all, teenagers disappear, they come back. But Tara wasn't that kind of girl. She had college plans, a boyfriend, and a routine. Something about the way the morning had gone felt staged. By the second day, volunteers lined the road, combing every inch of sand, brush, and ditch. A search helicopter circled overhead. The desert stretched on endlessly, silent and indifferent. Somewhere in that emptiness, Tara was gone. Then came the whispers. A white pickup truck had been seen following her that morning, a man inside, watching closely. Another witness swore she saw two vehicles tailing her from a distance, slowing down every time Tara pedaled faster. But no license plates were writ. 10 down, no clear faces. And yet, there was something stranger still. Locals began reporting odd things: a torn piece of pink fabric caught in a barbed wire fence, a single shoe by the roadside. Some said they heard a scream echo across the fields late that morning, carried by the wind. Others claimed to see headlights near the abandoned quarry after dark, long after the searchers had gone home. Weeks turned into months. Tara's face appeared on flyers, milk cartons, and TV screens. Her mother begged for leads, her voice trembling with both fear and fury. The desert kept its secrets. Then, nearly a year later, Florida. A convenience store parking lot in Port St. Joe. A Polaroid photograph was found lying on the ground, just outside the store. In it, two figures, a young woman and a boy, both bound with duct tape, both lying on what looked like a dirty van floor. The woman's face was bruised, her eyes wide and terrified, and beside her, a paperback novel rested in the frame, My Sweet Audrina by V.C. Andrews, Tara's favorite book. When Tara's mother saw the photo on TV, her breath left her body. She swore it was her daughter, the same hair, the same scar on her leg, even the same fear in her eyes. But police couldn't confirm it. No proof, no way to know where or when the photo had been taken. The FBI tried to trace the image, but the trail led nowhere. Some said it was a cruel hoax. Others said it was evidence of something much darker, something that traveled across states, unseen, and yet, one man came forward, quietly, claiming he knew who was behind it. But before he could speak to investigators, he vanished too. His car was found days later, abandoned at the edge of the desert. Inside, on the passenger seat, was a torn page from a book. It was from My Sweet Audrina, and scrawled across it in fading ink were 4 words: "She's still out there." The Polaroid curse, they say a photograph captures a moment in time, but sometimes it traps something far worse. By the summer of 1989, the Polaroid had become national news. TV anchors speculated about its origins. Experts debated its authenticity, and strangers across America swore they could identify the faces in the image. The young woman looked terrified, her mouth taped shut, her eyes screaming for help. But what chilled investigators most wasn't the fear, it was the familiarity. The floral pattern on the pillow behind her matched a model sold only in select stores across the Southwest. And the van's interior, barely visible in the photo, seemed to have been lined with a specific kind of carpet used in older cargo vans, the kind often seen along New Mexico highways. The FBI canvassed motels, truck stops, and desert rest areas, Yet everywhere they looked, it was the same story. Rumors, fragments, ghosts. Someone thought that they'd seen the van near Albuquerque. Someone else claimed it had driven through Texas. Every lead ended in dust. Tara's mother, Patty, refused to stop. She studied the Polaroid every night, tracing her fingers over her daughter's blurred face until she fell asleep. She started receiving phone calls, silent at first, then whispers, faint breathing on the other end of the line. Once a man's voice said softly, "You're getting close." The call ended before police could trace it. Weeks later, another photograph surfaced. This one showed only the boy, alive but thinner, paler, terrified. It was postmarked from Florida again, no return address. But handwriting experts claimed the note on the back matched the ransom letters from an unsolved child abduction 2 years earlier. Suddenly, detectives began to suspect something far bigger. A network, a ring, a pattern of vanishing teens linked by geography and fear. Then came the diary. A man walking his dog near the edge of the Rio Puerco discovered a small, water-damaged notebook buried beneath the sand. Inside were pages of scribbled thoughts and doodles. One page stood out, a map of Valencia County with a series of X's drawn along Highway 47, Tara's bike route. Each X was dated. The last one read, "The day she smiled." Investigators rushed to the scene. Beneath a nearby rock, they found something else, metal fragments, pieces of what appeared to be a Polaroid camera casing, half buried in the dirt. But when they tested for fingerprints, nothing came back. It was as though whoever had held it didn't exist. Reporters descended on the small town again, circling the Calico home like vultures. Neighbors whispered about strangers watching from parked cars at night. Patty began to draw her curtains closed, convinced someone was still following her, someone who knew exactly where she lived. And then, late one evening, she found something on her front porch. A single Polaroid photograph, freshly printed. This time, it wasn't Tara. It was the Calico home. The photo was taken from the bushes across the street, at night. Through the front window, Patty could see herself inside, sitting at her kitchen table, staring at the first photo. Someone had been watching her. Police swarmed the property, searching every inch of the neighborhood. Dogs picked up a faint scent near the back fence, but it led nowhere, fading into the open desert. That night, a storm rolled in, thunder cracking across the black sky. Lightning illuminated the road outside for just a second, and in that flash, Patty thought she saw a man standing by the mailbox. When the next strike came, he was gone. She locked every door, every window, and sat by the phone, waiting. But the phone never rang. Instead, hours later, a soft tap came from the back door. Patty turned. On the glass, pressed flat against the roof, was a Polaroid. The picture showed her backyard, taken moments before, the van in the desert. The morning after the Polaroid appeared on her door, Tara Calico was gone. Her car sat in the driveway, keys still in the ignition. A half-finished cup of coffee rested beside the kitchen sink. Neighbors said they saw her the night before, pacing by the window, lights flickering inside the house long past midnight. By sunrise, the curtains were open and the house was empty. Police flooded the scene, thinking at first it was panic. But then they found the footprints, bare feet trailing from the back door to the road. They stopped abruptly as if she'd been lifted off the ground. On the kitchen table, another photograph waited. This one was taken inside a van. The driver's seat was visible, but the dashboard was unfamiliar, sun-faded, cracked, lined with dust. And in the rearview mirror, barely visible in the reflection, was Patty's terrified face. The photo sent shockwaves through the investigation. The FBI reopened the case, scouring the desert for the van in the image. Within days, a tip came from an old rancher who claimed he'd seen a white cargo van abandoned near the outskirts of Los Lunas, just off an unmarked dirt road. When officers arrived, they found it exactly where he said, rusted, half buried in sand, windows shattered, door creaking in the wind. Inside, the air was stale, heavy, wrong. A few Polaroid pictures littered the floor, faces too blurred to identify, some torn in half. There were ropes, duct tape, and a stack of cassettes labeled only with dates. The latest one, September 20th, 1988, Tara's last day. Detectives played the tape, static, then the faint sound of wind, then something else, a voice, a girl's voice, quiet, pleading, and then a man whispering, calm and cruel, "Smile for the camera." The tape cut off. Forensic teams swept the van, finding a single partial fingerprint, too smudged for identification. But in the back compartment, they found something no one could explain. A small Polaroid camera, half melted, its lens cracked. And inside it, a single undeveloped photo. When the lab technicians processed it, they went silent. The photo showed the inside of the Calico house, Patty sitting at her kitchen table, holding the Polaroid of the van. The timestamp on the corner, 2:47 a.m., hours after she was last seen. But the most disturbing detail wasn't the picture itself. It was what appeared in the background. In the dark reflection of the kitchen window, a tall figure stood outside, motionless, watching. The FBI traced the old camera's serial number. It was sold in Albuquerque in 1986 to a man named David P., a local drifter arrested years earlier for stalking young women along Highway 47. But David had died in '93. His body was found in a storage shed, surrounded by Polaroids. Each one showed the same van, each one taken from a slightly different angle, as if the photographer was documenting his own crime scene. And on the back of the final image, in jagged handwriting, were the words, "She's not gone, she's with me." The files were sealed, the evidence locked away, but locals claimed that sometimes, on quiet nights along Highway 47, you could still hear the faint click of a Polaroid shutter echoing through the desert air. And every now and then, someone finds a photograph in the dust. Faded, water-damaged, edges curling from the sun. Always the same van, always the same road. And if you look closely, sometimes you can still see her reflection in the glass. Tara Calico, frozen in time, forever smiling for the camera. If you thought this story was terrifying, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe before the flash finds you first.